That was an absolute stunner and a clash between two of the best in the NBA. This one was no contest from the very beginning. Golden State 138-96 over the Chicago Bulls in Chicago. Michael Wilbon, Jalen Rose, and Stephen A. Smith. Let me start with you. We were sort of half kidding of the little rivalry that you and Mr. Wilbon have between your Knicks and his Bulls going into tonight. There was nothing funny about that performance by the Bulls in Chicago tonight. What's your take?
It was an embarrassment. It was a disgrace. It was hard to watch. Obviously, if you're viewers, you're looking at the viewers of ESPN, and clearly people probably left at halftime. They had better things to do with their time. But we understand what the Chicago Bulls are. They're an up-and-coming team. They're vastly improved. They clearly have more talent than the New York Knicks. I won't debate that. But I think that when you look at the Chicago Bulls, you've got to ask yourself, when we look at a Zach LaVine, who I believe is a star, when we look at a DeMar DeRozan, who I believe is a star, remember, coming into the season, Jalen, Wilbon, what was my concern? Can these two coexist? Now, they've made liars out of us thus far because even after tonight's loss, they're still in first place within the Eastern Conference. But we're not talking about a regular season. We're talking about playoff basketball where teams get back on defense. The game slows down. And even though you know a guy like DeMar DeRozan has an incredible mid-range game, and we know about the athleticism of a Zach LaVine, when we think about the Chicago Bulls and the young thoroughbreds that they have and a lot of guys that they have on their squad, we're thinking about them in the open court and some of the spectacular things that we can do. What we're not thinking enough about is the maturity and the experience that's going to be required to succeed on a postseason level once that rolls around. And I think what we've seen over the last two games is a team like the Brooklyn Nets and a team like the Golden State Warriors say, y'all are good. We give y'all respect. KD says Chicago's back, et cetera, et cetera. But there's levels to this, and they're just not on it yet. It's that
Michael,
simple.
how do you explain this?
They're not. I mean, they're not on it yet. And what we wanted to see out of this stretch of games is whether they could be on it. So this is the difficult stretch of games the Bulls have. They got Celtics, and the Celtics aren't what we thought they were going to be, but they still got more difficult games coming. They've got it at Milwaukee. They've got a stretch of games where if they don't pull it together, I looked at an 8-game stretch, and I thought, okay, well, can they go 4-4 in that stretch? And the answer looks like no. But Stephen A., I agree with you 100% on your analysis of the Bulls and where they are now. We're looking to see what they're capable of also when expectations grow. I mean, they were just playing with a chip on their shoulder straight out the first half of the season. And now when people say, okay, we expect you guys to win, what happens? The defensive part of this, Vucevic, he's not in the same level of talent when it comes to doing that as LaVine and DeRozan and other guys on that team. He's a liability. That's why the Bulls are going to have to be in the market for a big who can step out and guard and be tough and hold off rebounders and rebound in traffic. The Bulls haven't done any of those things even when they were winning 9 straight. I could see that then. So you think, okay, maybe they can steal one of these two games against Brooklyn or Golden State. Steal nothing. They look bad. And the question is, so when they meet, when they all get in the locker room together with Billy Donovan, and they haven't encountered this before, what is the response?
Jalen, however bad we think this was, it was actually worse. We just had a graphic up on the screen, and let me underline what it is that said. The Bulls just became the first team in NBA history to enter back-to-back games at home with the best record in their respective conference and lose both of them by 25 or more points. Third team ever to do it, first ever to do it at home. So this is genuinely unprecedentedly awful. Jalen, how do you explain it?
Golden opportunity tonight lost by the Bulls, but so far what happened is they've already outplayed our expectations. But if you really look at the Eastern Conference, the Nets' big three with Kyrie, even as a part-time player, are better. The defending champion Bucks, who just waxed the Warriors. They're just better. They're 0-2 against the Miami Heat. They're 0-2 against the Sixers. So the other night when JJ and I were talking about the regular season Bulls versus what may happen in the playoffs, like Stephen A. Smith is talking about right now, to me, they're going to slide where I believe they should be, a middle-of-the-pack Eastern Conference playoff team that's really ascending. And to Wilbon's point, they do have some holes up front because the said DeMar DeRozan is also listed at playing power forward. So that does mean they're going to need more height, more bulk up front to go with Vucevic if they're going to be competitive in the playoffs.
By the way, I just want to point out that Kareem and Shaq were on those two teams that the Bulls just joined.
Right.
That's right.
If there's any silver lining, and there isn't, I'm teasing, but it was just sort of interesting that those teams featured those all-time greats.
Well, go ahead, Stephen A. Final word.
The thing, fellas, that really jump out at me is that as we look at the Chicago Bulls, and we had expectations, or we wanted to at least see what they were made of over these two games against the Brooklyn Nets, against the Golden State Warriors. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Look at the Brooklyn Nets. You know how they look? They're teams that have been struggling in their own way, as you know, throughout the season, this early part of the season thus far. But there was something about them that said, look, man, we just waiting for when it really, really matters. When you look at the Bulls, you're wondering, are they going to be ready when it really, really matters?
Or are they going to even fight, Stephen A? Where's the fight? That's what I was looking for tonight. You're at home.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at home. You got to put up a better effort. Now, you can lose. You might even get blown out to a degree. But historic losses without a fight, that's what now you have to wonder about. How are they going to respond?
Agreed. Still got to fight, even though you lose Levine early and playing without Caruso.
Yeah, again, the news on Levine, we do not expect to be that bad. Woj reporting, if you hadn't seen it on Twitter, that the Bulls officials do not expect that to be a serious injury, but he will have an MRI tomorrow. So let's put that one behind us and start looking ahead to a matchup of two of the top young stars in the NBA, which is just moments away here on ESPN. We got Luka Doncic going head-to-head with Ja Morant. And I threw this question up on my Twitter page earlier tonight because they are both 22 years old. And at the beginning of this season, I don't think this would have even been a question worth asking. Almost everyone would have said, well, you're going to start a young team with a young star. You're going to pick Luka Doncic. But right now, maybe Ja Morant has closed that gap. Maybe he has actually caught all the way up to Luka. So, Jalen Rose, I'm asking you the question I asked on Twitter. If you were starting a team with one of these two young stars, and you can see America went with Luka on my vote there, but just by 52 to 48% basically. But Jalen, which of these two guys would you take to start a team?
Ja Morant has to get my vote for this simple reason. We're having this conversation. They're the same age, but he's already played one less season than Luka. How about that? I like to play with pace, and Ja Morant is going to attack. He's third in the NBA in points in the paint. He's also second in fast break points. He's first in the NBA in layups and dunks. The pace that he plays with, the defensive potential that he has, getting steals, getting blocks, that's my choice, Green.
Yeah, he's a third-year player, and Luka's in his fourth, but they are the same age. Stephen A., which guy?
Easily Ja. And the reason why is because, you know, he's more reliable. When we think about Luka Doncic, we've been walking in here talking about his conditioning or lack thereof, likes to party a lot, the level of focus, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's stay on the court for a second and recognize the fact that this is a brother that everybody talks about, and they say, you know what? He plays at his own pace. You can't speed him up. You can't slow him down. He's got the kind of poise where he plays at his pace. That's an upside. Here's the downside. His teammates are forced to play at his pace, which ain't the fastest pace, which doesn't necessarily always put the team at a positive advantage. You got to take that into consideration as well. You don't have that issue with Ja. Ja can go whatever way you need him to go and still do his thing. I'm rolling with Ja.
Ja can also do his thing defensively. We ain't seen Luka do that.
Yes.
Luka's not an asset yet defensively in anything we've seen so far, and we know that Ja has that dimension.
Let's see what they've got in store for us tonight. It's Luka Doncic, Ja Morant and company in Memphis. Mark Jones and Richard Jefferson will have the call right after this. Enjoy the game.